We are very excited to have such an amazing lineup today. Wanted to say thank you to Christian for having us here at this beautiful gallery, Cultura gallery. We enjoy having shows here, so hopefully you won't kick us out after this. This gentleman over here is the blame him for everything for tonight. Looks really good. He did a really good job with this. And so we'll start the show. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Jimmy Jazz.
Hi. Oh, okay. I didn't know we were starting right now. Hey, everyone. Huge crowd tonight. X-Man, it's been a long time. Thank you. I don't know if you've seen my new book. It's called The Book of Books. I've been working on it for the last 6 years. It just came out. I'm totally excited about it. So it's, 545 pages of text, and I think it's all good. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to have everyone in here think of a number between 1 and 545, okay? Hey, tell me a number between 1 and 545.
1.
Oh, okay. See, he likes to know the way things begin at the beginning, right? Begin at the beginning. Okay, page 1. Okay. 1984 by George Orwell. In 1984, I was a senior in high school. This book made me realize the importance of books being the right book at the right time. It transformed me the way rites of passage are supposed to transform. My dear mother was a science fiction reader. She gave me Lucky Star and the Pirates of the Asteroids, but Orwell infected me. I went into the woods with Winston Smith. I felt Big Brother looking over my shoulder. Hating conformity, I recognized doublespeak in the TV commercials and in the strident Charlie Brown trombone plunger mute voices of adults. 1 year later, my favorite local band would be Ministry of Truth. Yeah, hey, give me a number between 1 and 545. 333. Lucky number. Selected Writings on Anarchism and Revolution by Peter Kropotkin. Classical anarchism talked too much about lost opportunities. The Spanish Civil War, the Bolshevik betrayal of Nestor Makhno, the Paris Commune. Prince Kropotkin observed the communards' grievous error. They tried to consolidate the commune first and defer the social revolution until afterwards, whereas the only way to go about it was to consolidate the commune by means of the social revolution. This very factor led to betrayal in Russia and Spain. The communists didn't believe the people were ready. As long as we believe people are too stupid to run in the right direction with their freedom, the revolution will never be won. This volume contained 2 letters to Lenin from 1920. Esteemed Vlad, the people are starving over here. And by the way, your revolution will remain a sham unless we get these farmers organized from below. Pyotr. Respected Vlad, are you fucking nuts? Your tactics, kidnapping, torture, are taking us back to the Middle Ages. Pyotr. Okay, give me a number between 1 and 545.
257.
257. The Sheltering Sky by Paul Bowles. The computers went down in the cube, and I got paid a whole day to reread Bowles' luxurious writing about alienation and fear. I usually feel a querulous disquietude when women in books faint, kill themselves, or lose their minds. But maybe Bowles' character, Kit Moresby, preferred catatonia to the brain-dead world. Or maybe the calcified, piss-stink reality of seething life was too much for a Western sensibility. I had enjoyed the Bertolucci film, especially the laconic pathos of Bowles' narration from the Café France, a fixture adorned in a sandstone-colored jacket, sipping tea and watching the play. Ginsberg, Kerouac, and Burroughs visited him in Tangiers. Paul Bowles, the complete outsider, suggested his relationship with the beats was full of hot air. Ginsberg offered a joint in the hotel, but he was afraid after getting pinched by the house dick in 1950. He impressed me as an enigmatic loner, unable to connect with most people, though he knew Gertrude Stein, Tennessee Williams. I would have liked to hear more from his Arab friends and lovers. Later, I bought Jane Bowles, My Sister's Hands in Mine, at Fifth Avenue Books in Hillcrest and listened to his piano sonatas. When he wrote, they had almost absorbed the vacant expression of the man who looks into the handkerchief after blowing his nose. Was he saying people are narcissistic or that we have unreasonable expectations? I admit to sometimes examining the shape and color of my excretions, not just to monitor health, but for aesthetics or pure fascination. Okay, give me a number. 77. Antonin Artaud, Selected Writings by Antonin Artaud. Artaud spent many of his final years in hospitals. He said Van Gogh was pushed to suicide by society. One should hold his mouthy tongue about certain spiritual revelations and visions. I came across him in Henry and June when the actor playing Henry Miller went to see Carl Dreyer's La Passion de Jeanne d'Arc, and I saw the mad monk played by Antonin Artaud. A good line resonates inside the brain, like that pesky 15-second riff of a song, stuck in a loop, reeling in the databanks, repeating and rewriting itself over and over in the mind. Echolalia. Artaud said, all writing is pig shit. Yeah, Angela, do you have a number? 63. Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee by D. Brown. I struggled with the idea of guilt as I read this book. D. Brown described how the Europeans moved in and took over the land, killed the people. Are you culpable for something that has happened before you're born? Obviously, I am the beneficiary of a bloody manifest destiny, and it is still going on. Despite a few Indians switching from buffalo to casino, they remain the most impoverished demographic, some broken and soaked in alcohol. Guilt or even reparations seem insignificant. Let the Bureau of Indian Affairs or Department of the Interior pay the trillions we owe on rents, leases, broken bonds, null promises, and circumvented treaties. Yeah, do you have a number between 1 and 545? Yeah. 73. 73, okay. Everybody's in the show here. Okay, this is a poem from the United States of Poetry, which is edited by Bob Holman. It's by a Nuyorican poet named Pedro Pietri. Woke up this morning feeling excellent. Picked up the telephone, dialed the number of my equal opportunity employer to inform him I will not be into work today. Are you feeling sick? The boss asked me. No, sir, I replied. I feel too good to report to work today. If I feel sick, I'll come in early tomorrow. Yeah, do you have a number? 474. He wants to find out how it ends. The denouement. The Man in the High Castle by Philip Dick. Philip Roth's The Plot Against America chose the same point to diverge from history. I don't know if he read Dick. I think this open-ended question is valid. Where would we be if the Nazis won? I want to write about people I love and put them in a fictional world spun out of my own mind, not the world we actually have, because the world we actually have does not meet my standards. Okay, I should revise my standards. I'm out of step. I should yield to reality. I have never yielded to reality. That's what SF is all about. If you wish to yield to reality, Philip Dick said, go read Philip Roth. Hey, do you have a number between 1 and 545? 33. Oh, okay. 333, 33. We're getting all the 33s here. Quicksand and Passing by Nella Larson. In the early 90s, I lived in a pale blue cottage on Louisiana Street. Michelle Habel lived a few doors down with Patty Cates. She loaned me this book after I moved in with her best friend Pamela from Downey. Pamela was gorgeous and married this guy, Eric, a great guy, who owned this giant photocopier and printed my early novels, which I put out as 200-page chapbooks. This is where I first met Tamra Johnson, who'd written a poetry book called Girls at 19, walking to the Red Fox Room for late-night red light leather booth piano bar vodka tonics. She lived one block north with Kathy Badlands, a fellow DJ at KCR, who wrote a book about John Fante. Dr. Michelle Habel Payan went on to write books too. Writers and poets and writers, a great street, a new beat generation. The creative energy was palpable and ready to explode in the local music scene. Nella Larson explored the racist notion that it was better to pass for one skin color than another. It spoke rivers about white privilege. Some people with black blood, like Anatoly Brolyard, passed entire lives. Larson's stories reminded me of Imitation of Life, 1934, which I showed to a class at Hoover High, only to have the students complain that they didn't like black and white movies. All right. Hey, little one, do you have a number between 1 and 545? $248. All right, thanks, Papa. Okay. The Castle of Crossed Destinies by Italo Calvino. I heard Calvino later contemplated a sequel called The Motel of Crossed Destinies. An article about chaos theory in American Book Review said Calvino determined the plot and action using tarot cards. I am constantly surprised, gasping for air of ignorance, that books I want to read are so readily available at the library. Does anyone read? I also feel compelled to share the sick pleasure I feel when someone violates the sanctity of a library book. Here, a passage underlined. I could no longer order my actions or my thoughts. Yeah. Hey, with the phone right here, do you have a number between 1 and 545? 366. You know, this is a very long book. I can keep going all night if you want. 366. A Little Larger Than the Entire Universe by Fernando Pessoa. When two people asked me how my vacation from poetry was going, I got drunk and read these poems to myself out loud. My being a poet isn't an ambition, it's my way of being alone. Pessoa wrote his books of disquiet under heteronyms, as if different people wrote the poems. I was thinking I could adopt it as a robust exoskeleton for a bad poem. If it seems to be going on about nothing, a reviewer could say, Jazz has created this brilliant character of a poet who goes on about nothing. Okay, just walked in. Do you have a number between 1 and 545? 83, thank you. Matilda by Roald Dahl. When Ashley was little, we read Dahl and Seuss. We loved Seuss's play with words, and I would chant hop on pop to a hip-hop beat. She said the movie was different than the book. The movie transmuted Dahl's mischievous characters into slapstick. Still, the vicious characters disturbed me more, I think, than my kid. Yeah, do you have a number between 1 and 545? Yeah, 182, all right. Who, me? Yeah, you. Everybody is in the show here, right? McTeague, A Story of San Francisco by Frank Norris. When Erich von Stroheim decided to adapt Norris's novel, he promptly retitled it Greed. According to the video box, the studio cut his 9-hour film to 2 hours. Trina, the insipid heroine, pathologically hoards a cache of money while her parents starve, and she follows her brute dentist of a husband to shabbier and shabbier quarters. Norris captured the flavor of Fin de Siècle San Francisco, its steam beer and sawdust floors, as masterfully as Nelson Algren would paint Chicago 50 years later. The climactic scene in Death Valley, where the rising action culminates in mortal combat, fashioned a cliffhanger without a cliff. Spoiler alert. McTeague grappling with his enemy, formerly his best friend, in the middle of nowhere, in Death Valley, one of the most hottest, most desperate places on earth, bests his man, kills him between terrific blows, only to find himself handcuffed to a corpse, thusly sealing his own fates. Okay, thank you.
All right, somebody give me a number. No, just kidding. Jimmy Jazz. Give it up for Jimmy Jazz. That was cool.